Planet Nomads. Another science fiction building game? Don't we have enough of those? Hey guys, I'm Morphologist and welcome back. So, the developers over at Crane Ball Studio who are working on Planet Nomads were kind enough to shoot me an email and give me a key for their new closed alpha that's starting today. Now, this isn't a game I've just heard about. In fact, I've been following it for a while, and the reason for that is because it caught my attention simply by the fact that it was using an engine that was already established called the Unity engine. And that means that the game is already quite stable from the get-go. In fact, the images are downright gorgeous, and from what I've been able to ascertain from playing it on my own, even on ultra settings, the game runs buttery smooth with virtually no issue whatsoever. That isn't to say that it doesn't need work, it certainly isn't finished, and I even got launched into space randomly by the physics engine, but what are you gonna do? It is in closed alpha. So what is Planet Nomads, for those of you who haven't heard of it yet? Well, it's a survival game set in a science fiction universe where you're able to construct your own ground-based vehicles, air-based vehicles, or even space-faring vessels to travel between planets and maybe even stars. Planets will boast different types of biomes and wildlife and materials for you to harvest that you'll be able to travel to and from seamlessly in your devised spaceship. And that makes it quite interesting. In addition, there will be active weather cycles on these planets as well as day-night cycles, which is pretty cool. From what I've seen so far in the closed alpha, the night sky does actually move with the sun, so that does give me hope that the planet is actually rotating, but that is only speculation at this point, and I will leave that until we can actually confirm that. I don't want to hype the game more than it needs to be. So now that you have a pretty good idea of what the game actually is, let's talk mechanics. So, building is done in two different modes. You have the basic construction mode where you can place blocks and modules, and then you have the build view mode, which is very similar to what you may have seen in Scrap Mechanic. You place modules and then you have to connect them up to a generator, basically by clicking on one object and then dragging it over to the other. This build view mode also allows you to adjust different modules, say the direction a tire spins, or whether or not a tire actually turns. You can also adjust suspension modes, and I imagine that in later iterations of the game, you'll be able to adjust other options even more. Right now it's kind of limited, but again, it is in closed alpha. So that basically means Planet Nomad's building system isn't anything new. It's sort of a combination of some systems we're familiar with, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's bad, and it is early in the development process, so they have some time to really develop it into its own kind of unique system for Planet Nomads. Unfortunately, right now, I only have access, though, to the creative mode, so that means that I really can't tell you too much about what survival's going to be like, though from what we've learned from developers so far, you can expect that you're going to be using your drill tool to dig underground and find materials to basically power your generator and construct other materials. Pretty basic stuff. Now, at this point, I could keep going on about Planet Nomads, talking about it as if it were a review, but the fact of the matter is it's not a complete game and it's not fair to talk about it that way. In fact, I believe it's quite counterproductive as so much is likely to change in the coming months of development. Instead, I want to focus on something that the developers actually posted on the website, but how they're going to go back and have a discussion after the first release of the closed alpha about what direction they want to take Planet Nomads. And I think that's a really good idea, and they really need to sit down and think about the direction and tone that they want to take with this game, because let's be honest here, guys, the market is absolutely saturated with these types of build, construct, survival games, and if you want to survive in this industry, you need to have something unique about your game that will make players interested in your product, and I don't think that right now it is very clear what that is in Planet Nomads. It appears to be your typical run-of-the-mill survival game, and I think it has potential to be so much more, especially since it's built on such a strong foundation. They talked about multiplayer, and if they want to go that route, in my opinion, they really need to think about what the implications are of doing a multiplayer survival game like this. What sort of interactions are players going to have? Is it going to be faction-based, story-based, every man for themselves? Are they going to be able to form guilds? Is it going to be more like an MMO? What tone is that going to set for Planet Nomads? And that really has to be considered. what's the scale of the game as well? I think a lot of games like to say, let's do the whole universe, but I believe strongly in quality over quantity. Just because you have an infinite universe doesn't mean that it's going to be a fun game. No, instead my suggestion to the developers would be that they instead focus on a much smaller scale and making that really work for Planet Nomads. Really set the tone of the game and start gathering interest through some sort of unique approach, some new approach to making survival fun again. It isn't fun to constantly collect materials, so what could be done to really improve the player experience? How many hours are players spending actually playing the game versus working in the game via mining? Now, I would love to offer some sort of solution to this problem, and frankly, I don't have it. It's something that really is going to require quite a bit of innovation on the parts of these developers. And I believe they're uniquely positioned in their development process to be able to change the direction of the game towards a more positive outcome. So I wish them the best of luck, and I want to know what your guys' thoughts are on Planet Nomads. Is it something that you might be interested in? What direction would you like to see this game go in? And if you're not interested at all, why? I want to know either way, even if it's a negative comment. And as usual, if you'd like to check out the game for yourself, check out the description of the video, there'll be a link there. And if you liked me or if you liked the video, give me a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys next time.